What's up, everybody? I'm Yogi Chris DeVilbiss, Pimpin' Yogi, aka that's me, founder of Ninth Limb Yoga and director of operations here at Base One. So this is a podcast, and I call it the show is called Enlightened Masculinity. So it's the red pill of all that stuff: red pill, masculinity, manhood against femininity, not really against feminism, old school, new school feminism, all kinds of feminism. This is bullshit. Why they have an ism? There's no masculinism, Anyway, also, just the red pill spirituality and all that nonsense. There's a lot of it, a lot of nonsense. And I don't claim that I have the truth. What I claim is that I have my own intellect and I take responsibility for my actions. And so whatever my beliefs, if my actions are, that's what we judge that. So this episode is called Freedom in Your Speech. And I don't know who I am as an authority to speak on it, except that I see in the reactions of other people that come around me, men and women, different contexts. It's not always, but I see it frequently that, I speak more freely than them. And you could see this, let's say, if you talk to your grandparents. Like I just talked to my grandma on the phone. It was great. And I was able to calibrate my speech so that it's not disturbing to her because it's much freer than her, let's say. Doesn't mean it's more intelligent. Although it is, it doesn't mean that it's more wise. I don't know, but it is freer. I can say more, I can hear more without being reactive. And say more, meaning I can even like curse words or different freedoms of expression. In some ways, being limited by what you know how to say, like the wording you have accessible in your mind, that will limit your freedom of speech. And I don't mean like First Amendment of the Constitution kind of thing, like, although that's part of it, because that's, political correctness has infringed on us, whether we like it or not, through the school system or whether we recognize it or not, is better said, through the school system and jobs and what we're allowed to say. And that goes into our relationships and what we think we're allowed to say. And women got it fucked up too, because they think they're allowed to say like so much more. They're allowed to say whatever they want, but you can say it over there away from me. You don't get this. And what is this? I can speak for myself. Men have value. And they got to find the wording for their own value. But this sense of stability, this consistency, this growth potential demonstrated. It's not just like I'm talking out my ass growth potential. Like I've doubled and I'm about to double the business again. And, that was after I left another business that I was conquering, which was after my PhD, which I conquered best in the planet for my graduate discipline. After I left a career before that. So it was like a lot of goodness that I kept leaving for something better. I'm always leaving it for something better. And, you miss out on that because who else do you know like that? Maybe one or two people you think, but then we could go into like what my value is. And that's a little bit related to what I'm talking about, like the freedom in your speech. How free are you to express yourself? Where the people get offended around you, but, do you depend on them? Do you depend on them agreeing with you? Or do you depend on them allowing you to speak a certain way? That doesn't mean I want to offend people, especially people close to me. But it also means that because of the philosophy, the living philosophy that, we abide by, that we apply, that, we proclaim, that we pronounce, that we tell people that we're doing, is telling the truth, honesty, saying it as it is. It doesn't mean be blunt. Like I said, I calibrated for my grandma. But you know how you can tell that grandma is a little less free? You can tell that mom or dad is a little less free. They're less free, more confined. How your sister or your brother or your cousin who's similar age to you, similar demographic to you, similar upbringing to you, but they went a different route with their adult life. Maybe they got married or they got into drugs or they're just like a antisocial kind of person, or who knows. Maybe they were successful by normie standards and they played a sport or they got a job and they, they're doing it, but they're not really on the self-development path as if this is true self-development, because other self-development is just mental. And so you can measure against those things if you're freer or not. So now, if you're feeling that, I'm feeling that with all of you. I'm feeling that with all the people that are already feeling that with their normal crowds. And first of all, I'm seeing it's a process, a longer process than you might think. That it comes about for me, or I can speak on my experience. It came about for me in many phases. I haven't written them down, so I'll just kind of talk about them now. The first is really claiming my social media, which is I don't allow haters. This may seem basic, but I just don't allow haters. Like, you are allowing haters. You allow people to disagree with you on your social media in a way that's you don't like. That doesn't happen to me. And when it does, I fucking handle them and or block them. Maybe I don't want to do anything. Maybe I want to do something. Gives me an outlet too. Sometimes you want to get in the ring and just spar a few rounds and box. You're better than the person, but it's kind of exhilarating. So sometimes a hater comes, and now censorship and whatever, you can't even call someone a retard, let alone like, a bitch ass white trash piece of no good, just cunt stain or something. Like, you can't say that on social media or you get censored. You can't even say it in a private message or they fucking complain about you. So it's weak ass. So in a way, I'll refine, because how would I, if I was at the White House, how would I want to offend somebody if they were offending me? Like, if I wanted to say something to like keep them in their place and keep space between us, I probably wouldn't say a bunch of profanities and whatever. There's always somebody, so that's class. So in a way, Instagram, thank you for motivating me to be a little better with my language about it. On the other hand, you're also breeding a even bigger generation of snowflakes that are just like so weak they can't even handle. They go, when somebody calls them a name. So pathetic. And a woman's going to mate with a guy like that? Or a woman's going to go through life with everybody treating her like it's just ridiculous. You say so many passive aggressive things that just cut each other down, but you don't use trigger words and swear words, and you think that that's less violent. It's ignorant. It's ridiculous, really. It's a shame. So first you start by claiming your social media. You don't allow that stuff. And then you over time, remember, it's a process. You'll post your ideas. You'll post things that maybe you find hella interesting. Aliens created the planet, or Joe Biden's a pedo, or, men and women should be like this, or, such and such animals going extinct, or such and such, I like hunting. Like, you can go both ways. Like, that'll trigger somebody, and you post your ideas, and somebody's going to come and try to say no in one way or another. Well, didn't you think about it? Like, nah, and you're too nice with them. Too nice. If you can't even do it on social media with all that distance and space, and there's really no danger at all, there ain't no chance at all you're doing it in personal communications. Not even close. Not even close. If you can't block and delete an ex-boyfriend or an ex-girlfriend, first of all, you're I don't even want to get into it. But if you can't block people that were ex-clients, if they act up, I'm not saying just because they quit that you block them. I'm saying if they quit and then they become a hater, or even if they're in your program. Now, if they're in your program and they become a hater, they get a little more patience from you. Just like if it's a girl that's in some way interacting with me the way that I want, but then out of nowhere, it's like this comment, she gets more patience from me because she's earned a little bit. I don't treat her like a normie or a regular, some other hoe out there, because she's not. She's closer to me. Like, that would be ridiculous to treat everybody the same. So, start there. What's the next step after claiming your social media? I mean, you keep pushing the edge and you keep exploring the truth. And as you have a lot of communication lines that you'll need to explain that to, because you'll offend people, you'll block them or kick them off your social media, and then you'll interact with them in person and they'll be all butthurt about it. How important it was for them to be on your social media, giving you their peace of mind. Well, you could always unblock them once you explain your piece, but person after person you'll go through this with, and you'll start to clean out all your communication lines. So you have 10 or 20 or 30. The position I'm in, I have a lot of communication lines, but maybe you have like 10 or 20 or 30 that are like interacting with you. You'll always get new ones from your past. So that's kind of a weird way to say it. Like, new people will come up on your social media from way in your past. New people will come, you'll interact with them, or somehow you cross paths, or they send you a text, you send them a text. Like, somehow you'll interact with your past, and you'll have to keep re-updating people on your new protocol. Like, you don't get to say anything about me in my life. And if it's anything but supportive, then I'm probably not going to want to give you any time from me. Now, if you don't have any real value, you might become just a very lonely person doing that. But you're probably not low value. If you're listening to maybe people will listen to the podcast recording later on Spotify. By the way, if you're listening on Apple or whatever, leave a review. It'll be just a freeloader. It's already free. I pay to post the podcast. because it nurtures our audience here at imcbase1.com. That's how I reason it anyway. Plus, I like to talk about ideas. So yeah, I pay for it. Now you can leave a review. If you're still listening at this point, you should. That's the right thing to do. Why wouldn't you? Because you're driving? Okay, do it later. So you go through all your communication lines and you keep making sweeps of that. That's why I do what I do, like with IMC Nation. Like I make sweeps through the list. I keep lists of people and I make sweeps through them. And I keep in communication with people. Yeah. And, so as I update myself, I update all those communication lines as I go through them. It's like a magnet. It just keeps reorienting the filings, the iron filings. Each time you come back to it, they've all moved a little bit because the breeze, the wind of life kind of confused everybody a little bit. And they have their own interactions. They're communicating with their own communication lines. And they probably got lots of suppressive people. Lots of people disagree with them. Nobody has standards anymore. Everybody's a sheep. Everybody's just a liberal sheep. Even the Republicans are liberal sheep. Your parents are liberal sheep. You're somewhat a liberal sheep, except Phoenix. He's not a sheep. Everybody else, myself included, we're pulling out all the fucking plugs of the matrix in us. And, that's freedom in your speech. So I can say things like all the curse words I've said on this podcast. You're probably not free enough to say that on a stream. Good luck. And why not? Because you care too much about their opinions and you're unsure of your value. It comes across in your tonality. When you're certain that you got the value, it comes across. I was on the car dealership phone on the phone with the BMW guy. He says this and that, 2 months, 3 months, it's going to take for the car to be delivered, blah, blah, blah. Well, we have the next one up and it would be done by in 4 weeks because it's built American. And he's like, it's just a little bit more. And I was like, how much is it? He's like, 64 is the base model. I was like, that's not a little bit more, dude. That's like 60% more. Like the other one's 40. He was like, no, the other one was like 45. And I was like, no, it was 41 when I was there. And he's like, you're right. That one was 41. Okay, I shouldn't have said a little bit more. It's just like 64 to 41. You do the math. It's like 60% more. It's not a little bit more. It's a lot of thousands of dollars for me. And he says something. And I was like, well, man, yeah, that's a lot bit more. So maybe I should just go over to Mercedes. and Sultan and Arslan were here and they were like, oh, it was like, yeah, that's what you do to the girl too. She's like, you're not going to talk to any other women. Or she's like, you're going to pay my bills. Or she's like, that you don't get to call me bitch. Or like I'm going to keep guy friends. And you're going to be like, all right, well, I'm just going to go over to that girl. And it's not because you're a 65K girl and she's a 40K girl. It's because you're treating me as if you were a 65K girl and she treats me as if she's a 40K girl. I think you're wrong. Treating me like that, you're actually like a 2K girl. I don't care what you got going on because that's mistreat. I don't even like that. Whatever you get with your looks is like worthless. Like your looks could get anything. Your looks could get a squirrel to want to mate with you. That's how valuable your looks are. But your attitude, what's that going to get you? And there's the measure of you. In my opinion, that's what I say. Doesn't mean I don't see a pretty girl and I'm like, oh, inside. There's a little boy that's like, oh. And then immediately, like a split second later, I'm like, probably stinky pussy. Probably just picked her nose. Probably got hairy nose too. You know what? Oh, she's got that perfect nose. Oh, she got that perfect smell. Oh, she got that perfect everything. She's probably just like psycho. Probably just cocaine. Probably one of those crazy girls that like cries rape on you or some shit. Oh, she's not. She's really stable. Like, how would you know that? You got to get to know her. So you're talking to her and you get to know her and it's like, oh, she's pretty stable. She's probably got just tons of guys that she entertains. She just uses tons of guys and I don't know, I'll just be friends with her. We'll just be friends. Like I tame the instinct because in the process, remember, every time you communicate with me, the iron filings reorient. I stay on the pulse. I stay on the process. I make my wake up every day. I read my ethics every day. I read my Scientology every day. Read my Stoicism every day. I read my Greatest Salesman in the world every day. I communicate with a bunch of people every day. I show up and do my streams every day. I pay my teacher money every day for the money I pull in. So I do business every day. I do hell business every day. I talk to girls every day. It's different than just talking to clients. I do my workout every day. I break a sweat. Do my meditation every day. Like if you're not, what are you doing every day that's evolving you? Maybe one or two of those things. And I don't know how consistent, and I don't know, how disciplined or, and that's just, I'm just getting the surface things. I'm not talking about my diet or my sleeping habits, or there's a ton of little details in those. They might not even be the biggest ones. I was just like naming top of mind. So I keep growing. If you go one day, I'll be different. You go, let alone a few days, if I'm interacting with like a new person or whatever, then, over time, you will gradually, all those iron filings in you, you're going to orient. And then you'll be able to measure who I am more and more and more. And it's an invisible value. So you get confident in this as you interact with more people. You get confident in this value that you have, which is the application of these philosophies, the application of surrender experiment, the application of stoicism, application of, if you do Scientology or those readings, anyway, I'm not a Scientologist, I read it. Application obviously of like IMC tech. That's like the obvious, but I'm saying like the, these other things that are like mixed in it. And, the application of your meditation, application of your discipline will level you up. You just will level up your precision, your both tolerance for other people and your intolerance for bullshit at the same time. It's like a tolerance for people's bullshit, but not when they're intentionally bullshitting. And that's when you're allowing people to hate on your Instagram or whatever, you have too much tolerance for their bullshit. And what I'm saying about the person that's somewhat closer to me that gives me some bullshit is I have more understanding of them, and I see through, or I intend to see through. It doesn't mean I'm right, but I give them a little more slack, and I still communicate with them to reorient those iron filings in their communication, because something's gone askew. You could say when you get triggered, it's like something hits the iron filings and they all scatter and they're way out of line. All of a sudden you're in a state of confusion, and you got to go in there with some communication and reorient shit. They may naturally reorient a little bit. I don't know. I don't know how that happens. I see all sorts of things with that. And that's a separate subject. I want to stick on like freedom in your speech, being independent of more and more and more independent of an employer. And I get paid in a way. You all are my employers. It's not technically right, but like I sell you, I get paid from you. But it's not like a single employer. It's like kind of like the guy who has one girl. He's only talking to one girl. She's like your employer. You depend on the approval of one person. And if you displease her, then you're going to feel a lot of pain, because genetically you're going to feel pain if your access to pussy goes away. Girls can't understand that because they're fucking just unempathetic assholes. They cannot view through the man's perspective, or they just don't want to because they're so fucking entitled and selfish. It's disgusting. Women's entitled attitudes are disgusting. Now, I'm sure they would look at us and say, men's needy attitudes are disgusting. And every now and then it comes out in me of something into tonality or something I request or any little insecurity or something. It boils down to there's some neediness in me, and I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So as I see that in myself, because I'm not a perfect being, I gain a little bit more tolerance for her bullshit too. Because why would I be needy? I was miseducated. I was mistreated. Why is she entitled? She was miseducated. She was mistreated. So like we're in this slave ship together called, Earth. And, but if you're too nice, you just get walked all over. So it's up to you to have that edge where you can correct her, but not be too nice. But, not correct her so hard that it just like, it's so unenjoyable. And it takes a lot of finesse and understanding, because she will, again, she's the opinion. She'll say that's uncomfortable, or that's not the right way to talk to me. And if she's the only girl you're talking to, then you may not have any reference. You may not have a contrast. If you don't have a lot of experience, you're going to be taken advantage of because it's uncomfortable to her. And she tells you it's uncomfortable, and you're too easily persuaded by that. How many girls will you need to dismiss? A lot. How many will come back? Some. They'll all probably think about you forever, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Your life is super important. There's thousands of women to meet still. Thousands of women to meet still. You're robbing one of those future women, or two or three or four, who knows how many of those future women, by wasting your time on that one. The one who is so firmly holding on to her opinion and making you wrong about yours, that it's either you're gonna submit and become weaker, or she's not gonna be in your life and you'll feel some pain. And that's her leverage over you. You know how I sell you guys? The pain of not coming. That's what she's selling you on. That's it. Okay, let's see who's on. One of my ex-girlfriends was on the stream, so I said a lot of that just to kind of throw it in the face. Verbal spears, just jabbing her right through the mouth. Okay. Real fam, Jake, what's up? What's up, real fam? We got the Beast Gathering starting today. Everybody, Freedom Congress is today. Starts today. Really, it started all month. It was very powerful training. It keeps going on. It's a month-long training and extremely powerful. You can hear it probably. How exciting. How fucking exciting for somebody to discover this podcast and not follow all the other guys, not know much about what else, and they get to listen through. And if they ever listen to the chronology of my evolution and change, what a testament! What they would see it, go back from the old shows and come to the present time, and I can tell that it's different. Now, also, there's like moods underneath these things. Freedom in your speech, man. Freedom in your speech. Has anything that I've said stimulated anything in the audience? Because I can keep riffing on it. I haven't really touched the exact idea I wanted to yet, but I don't want to search too hard about it. I'm definitely going to do my yoga practice here in like 20 minutes. So that's how much time we have at the most. I could end it sooner too. Going once. Way. Okay. Kickstart Cash coming on. Instagram, telling everybody what to do, what's up with that. Give Enlightened Masculinity a review. If you haven't done that, you should do that. All right. Now, yeah, certainty seems to be a good ingredient. So having a disciplined schedule and being tight on it makes it easy to be certain about what you're saying, what you're going to be doing, what's happening next, how to get off the phone with somebody, how to get out of an interaction with somebody, how to get into an interaction with somebody. There's some urgency to you that's very freeing, because a lot of people are walking around looking for someone to please them or looking for some experience to satisfy them, versus you are on your schedule, so you're doing shit and you just cross paths with someone, so it's easier to freely interact with them. When you're willing to move on and leave them behind, you'll be more honest and free. That's really, when we talk about freedom, I'm not talking about carelessness, I'm talking about honesty. Hold on, let me turn off. Enough is enough. Now, I almost named this episode Communing with Nature. Would anybody like to hear my Communing with Nature?
Yes.
All right. Should I do today's or any other days? Today's not going to be there.
Yeah, let's stay up to date.
Damn it. I really didn't want to do that.
I want to hear the good one.
A good one?
Today.
Okay. Let's do today. April 22nd, everybody. This is a process I learned. Paid a good amount of money. It's not the only thing I learned for that money, but so it's one of the things. And, have you seen a change in me in the last 4 weeks? Part of it is my mood. Part of it is all the other practices that I just described that you already know about. But it's actually doing them. Just knowing them isn't do shit. You got to do them. Like Pyro was at the meeting where AZD taught us the communing with nature. Did he do it? I don't know. Could have. When you sold your life savings and everything you had to be here, you kind of do the suggestions. All right, April 22nd. So this is me. I biked to a park and I told the guys to meet me there, and they did the communing with nature with me too. I lay down my blanket and I sit there. I set my timer for 30 minutes and I do this. April 22nd, 2:49. It's going to be hard to read my handwriting. 2:49. Inhale the restless wind through my cannabis pen. Smile. as the cool breeze firmly slobbers all over my face. I hear air move past my ears, and then it slows, revealing bird chirps. I unplug my ears and close my eyes. I was not breathing as I was writing. Cow dung pollutes the air, and I am grateful for my grandfather. I think of Arslan, who's a guy. Goodness. I feel goodness when I see the most perfect and free clouds, air and space, the delicious ice cream shapes the vanilla clouds make. How high could a bird fly? How much could I appreciate this ground? Relax, breathe. I feel caffeine fueling me. Let go of your mind. Commune with nature. All right. Oh, wait, what does this say? All right, a hawk. That's how the voice sounded in my head. All right, a hawk. For the first time, I feel what it's like to embody a hawk. How long the arms and fingers, how short the body and legs. Like B-52 bombers. I am a primal man, a natural man, sitting in a field, the wind pushing on my face. Let go of your mind, commune with nature. How far off our civility and technology of communication has taken us from our nature. My spell book of nature. The wind is chilling my body. I feel a slight stiffness in my limbs and a tightness in my jaw. There is that smell of shit again. What would this world look like without my mind? These clouds. How is the sky blue, but the air is clear? I step out off my blanket for the first time. The grass and ground are surprisingly warm. I feel nervous about spiked or thorny vegetation. A fly lands on my book. It looks like a machine or robot with its tightly wrapped hard shell black body. I'm noticed by a bluebird. I make it nervous by staring, even with a smile. I'm glad I stretched my experience. 320. Yeah, that feels weird to read that. What a thing. Freedom in your speech. Having a sharp, disciplined schedule, because that'll give you practice at leaving experiences behind or planning experiences, for being sharper, more concise with your communication when you have your day planned. Even if there doesn't have to be big, significant activities, but it's just like you have a schedule. That's a teaching from AZD, is the schedule. I mean, how many people in the world probably teach a schedule, but like the emphasis here is, very high. There's a very, very high emphasis on it. And considering with civilians, not in the military, again, it's not pushed on you. It's like not relying on that employer. When you rely on the employer, you got to do what the employer wants. When you rely on selling clients and the clients are your employers, you got to rely on what the whole student body wants, perhaps. But there's a freedom in your speech. You just really need to stay loyal and calibrated to the product and service that you are offering. And this happens to be the product and service of freeing up your communication. So it's very free opportunity to speak very freely. And if you speak too uncalibrated, too freely, you lose the client. And that's a really good analogy to life. This is just a relationship. You lose the relationship if you're too free for them, but at the expense of confining your freedom, because with that freedom and honesty is good feelings. And so, bend that a little bit or confine it a little bit, and you feel less good, but you feel good that they accept you and that you have some social interaction. So it's a trade-off. But ideally, I guess we're going for some ideal of being free and the people around me accept me, and I have all the people around me, they accept everything. They don't necessarily agree, but they accept that I say it. They don't try to suppress it. And I think moving through life, as long as we stay in interacting with people and keep in our business and keep at our business of interacting with people and building that, we will gradually keep improving our social circle, out with the old, in with the new, tilling the ground and weeding the garden. Your social garden becomes refined. Don't ever settle though. I guess you can continue to till the same garden over and over and over, but eventually the tomato plant dies. It doesn't just keep yielding every year forever. Trees have a lifespan. Just because a mold doesn't come to them, or like they are organisms that live and die. Like there's an old age tree. It has a limit. You can't just nurture the same garden forever. Like it's going to need to be replaced at some point, or you'll just grow old and lose all your attachments. And you'll either die first and then the plants don't have to worry about it, or you'll die last and then you won't have any plants. Unless you add something new to it. An evolution of humans is going to be passing on your wisdom to the new sprouts, the new germinated kids, new vegetation, the new people. And hopefully your life experience helps them. It gives them wisdom. It leaps them ahead from their competition. Whoever would be vying for the same girls or the same resources or the same jobs or the same sports positions or whatever. Ideally, it's probably a mix. You probably have some wisdom and also some things that are out of date. They're not with the times. It would almost hold somebody back or take them in the wrong direction if they use that. So freedom in your speech, having certainty about your goodness, and having certainty not just that you're good, but just having some strategy. It's very hard to improve when you're not going off of a strategy. I think one of the first steps is to know that you have a strategy of living, of making friends, of succeeding in whatever ways that you want. You have a strategy. You always had a strategy. But a lot of probably most of your life, you were unaware of your strategy. You never thought about it really. You never written it down or answered a question about it. So you had this unconscious strategy, which came from where? Yeah, the parents, and a lot of the school and all the other mixed, influences. And until you recognize a strategy in you, what are you going to improve? That's the thing you improve. So the more aware you become of what your strategies are, what's your strategy when you're around people and your nose starts to itch on the inside? What's your strategy? Is your strategy, is it, like I said, with the swear words, is it high value or high class? Would it work? Is it workable around the kind of people that you would be around? I don't necessarily want to be around White House people. It was just an example. But I'm sure at the highest levels, you can't get away with too much crass or vulgar communication. It needs to be well placed, unless that's really your character. Like, I don't know, you're some fucking thug rapper or something. And, that guy's imprisoned. He's not free to speak like a white man. Maybe I'm not free to speak like a thug gangster or whatever. And, would we want to be able to talk like each other? Does it matter? Maybe stay in your lane. Maybe you can't please everybody always. You can't do everything. You can't be the ultimate freedom. Maybe you could. I don't know. But, I value intelligence. And so, limiting your vocabulary, I think curse words have a place because it's not just the vocabulary. In fact, it's none of the vocabulary. If I could convey the meaning without any words, I would. So fuck the vocabulary. It's the meaning I'm trying to transmit from here to there. And the meaning is a vibration of experience. So there's some vibration of experience happening over here. I'm trying to transmit. If I could do that without words, I would. But I don't think you really can. Maybe through some eye contact and body language or whatever. But just show me. Show me how good you are, and you do that. So freedom in your communication, freedom in your speech. This is good. I've really distilled down this idea more as I've been talking about it. Definitely the discipline. Definitely, how much you depend on someone else for your money. That's how confined you'll be. And too nice to people. And then what is this last thing I was just saying? Shit. What was this last thing I just said? Honesty. Yeah, okay. That's the gist of it. So this audience kept growing throughout the show. So people are here now. And I guess I have like 5 minutes. If you have any questions or comments, if you're watching the recording, if you've listened this far, you should definitely leave a review. Otherwise, I curse your ass to a lifetime of mediocrity. Okay, so we start the Freedom Congress today, tomorrow, and Sunday. And then the next event will start soon after. It's a month-long training, advanced recordings in the evening that you can attend live. And Trey, where do I leave a review? Click the Genius link that Tony posted. And then go to Spotify and Apple, leave a review there. And then, so the next event's going to be Boss, it's going to be very good. Like when processes are described or routines or link doesn't work, what do you mean it doesn't work? I'm going to click it right now. It works. So I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so if the processes that are described, you should just do them. There's your permission. Like I know that there are things withheld from being said about the details of the processes. Like Chris Aguirre was here. He came up with base 3 guys. He was asking all these questions about communing with nature. I was like, dude, I paid $3,000 for this. He did. Like, just watch. I'm not going to answer your question. But it has been described in Lion's Den or Dragon's Den or whatever, if you were paying attention. So whatever has been said, just use it and practice with it because you'll change. And if you don't do it, then I don't know if you would do it if you paid the $3,000 either. One of the sponsors paid $3,000, only did the practice once in the whole month. I missed 3 days the whole month, I think. Maybe two for sure, maybe 3, I forget. So the last one was 4 weeks ago. So it ended on a Sunday, we got it. So that Monday, it's now Friday. So it's 28 minus 1, 2, 3. So it's 25. I missed 3 days. So 22 days. Would you explain from DC, from Albania? Would you explain how would you go about looping as in a straight line method of Jordan Belfort? Well, I haven't studied Jordan Belfort much except reading the book like 3 times, I think I read the book. And yeah, I don't know what to tell you, Trey. The link worked for me. So yeah, message Tony on Telegram. So my understanding of looping is probably not his understanding of looping. He's the inventor of it. So his is more valid. My understanding of looping more has to do with like objections. So you're talking to somebody and they throw up an objection. And so you handle the objection and then you loop back around to the offer. And so I'm always doing that. But I only do that like 2 or 3 times on an interaction. If it keeps getting objected, then I just change subjects or I drop the line and I'll come back at a future time because I don't need a sale right now. The same thing with a girl. You're like, let's go to a park. I don't know. That's not really a good example. I don't have an example. It happens where she challenges something. You're saying a course of action, or let's go eat here, or do that, or you want to do this or that. And you're making a plan. She challenges it. It's like an objection. So you handle it. Now, how you handle it with a girl is very different. Jordan Belfort, it wouldn't work. You wouldn't do Jordan Belfort stuff. You tease her, you nag her, you give IODs, indications of disinterest. You play the game, but you handle the objection when it's resolved or it's freed up, like she laughs or something. You circle back around, like, no, seriously, where do you want to eat? Like here or here. And she's like, well, just this or that. I tell you what, we'll just go to a park. And then on the way to the park, I'm hungry. Okay, so here or here. So that's me looping. I'm going back to the thing without being reactive, handling the objection. So on the sale, I just I don't know if I'll be able to attend because I don't have enough time. Okay, well, do you see? I don't understand. I may be using this thing wrong. I may be considering objection handling as looping. So I would have to go back to the book to really explain it because I don't feel qualified at all to talk about it. But basically, handle the objection and go back to the offer. So I don't have enough time. And then it's like, well, I mean, you could listen to it like in the morning or evening before you go to bed or like when you drive to work and back. I mean, how much time do you have there? Do you think you do it? Yeah, maybe. Okay. Okay. So do you want to attend? Like I don't know if that's looping so much as handling objection. So I don't know. That's my best answer. Anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to what you were saying about application. I love it because it all comes full circle in the sense of like, you're speaking about free speech and freedom within your speech. Well, I don't know where everybody else that's tuning in is from, but like here in the United States of America, we have a freedom of speech that is seemingly coming to a halt due to the fact that nobody's applying their ability to speak freely, and that's why I appreciate what you're doing so much, is bringing up the topic and speaking on these ideas of freedom within your speech, because if we don't exercise free speech, it's going to go away. And at that point, we're just at the whim of someone who's willing to do more, I guess you could say, violence without repercussion in their mind than a good person would be. So I really appreciate what you're doing.
I think the fear of the conflict is the big reason. I mean, that's why people are dishonest. Lie because they're afraid of consequences.
Yeah.
And it's become such a habit that like most of what they say is kind of like a lie. They're just lying. Like everything they say is a lie because it's just not honest. It's not really what it is. It's not how they really feel. They're just living a lie. And it's a fear. Like that fakeness, if you see fakeness in the person, he's afraid. He may not be afraid of current situation, but he's living with fear in his system that hasn't let go. Or he may be afraid of the situation or both. Doesn't mean you have to accept him. Fuck him. Hasn't faced up. Is he an adult? What a pathetic liability to society. But you can have compassion, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't mean you have to say that to him. That's how we talk in the inner circle. That's how I feel about it. That's how I feel about myself when I can't talk. Because I'll get moody or emotional or embarrassed about something and I can't talk. Or a bitch says something to you that kind of triggers you, like, you can't talk to me like that. I'm a man. But if you say something, it's going to get worse because the energy in you is not going to come out smooth. So then you start, well, what does that mean? Well, you're afraid of what might happen. Big, tough guy, afraid of what might happen. Might not be that you're afraid of her, what she's going to do, but let's say you're in public, you're afraid of your reputation or whatever. So facing that takes courage.
I completely agree. And that's the attack on masculinity in itself that's been going on and perpetuated for decades, it seems nowadays. I grew up in it, so I didn't even know what the fuck that was until a few years ago. So that's why I appreciate groups like this and people like you that speak on these topics, because there's somebody out there who's not aware of this shit. And so just bringing this to light, it solves a lot of fucking problems for that person.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm a messenger from IMC. AZD is my teacher. IMC Base One is the website. I live here in San Jose. And then, from the past, I've learned from other people. Vince Kelvin was, huge and a lot of people helped. But definitely, I mean, it's been all around Steve Czar for years. And I mean, I learn other stuff, obviously, I'll run Hubbard or whatever, but this is a method. So that's, a mentor through life. It's not, I don't get all my information from him. He's my mentor in life. So I get my information, but he's mentoring me. So, and I get a lot of information from him too. And something that you just said, that depends on people discovering this podcast, because otherwise it's just people that already know me. And if they already know me, then they already know AZD also. So, hopefully, I mean, we're trying to make these shows so that they get discovered. That's why I have the intro. So I try to keep it sharp, high paced. So I try to think of interesting titles. I've researched how to post. Nothing has really worked as far as big podcast discovery. The most successful episode to date recently happened. It was called Why Speed Dating? ? That was the title of it. And it's got the most, but the most is not that much. If I said how many views it was, it wouldn't be like super impressive. Our consistency is impressive. Our number of our content, how much content we've put out. I know the level of it because there's money involved here. A lot of money involved here. How much? A lot. Probably more than you make in a month for sure. That's my income is probably more than you make in a month. And I'm making like a certain commission on the income that comes in here. So there's a lot of guys around the world that really value this information, that their hard-earned dollars could go to a lot of places. I'm sure their Instagram and YouTube is inundated with options of similar sort, you could call it similar kinds of coaching, or they could just spend it on leisurely or pleasurely. What is it that motivates them to do this? Women should look at that. Man, you just got to get the message out. You got to get it through their thick, entitled feminist skulls so that they get it, because they probably associate it with some other men's group or some other bullshit or this or that. And the loyalty here, the level of information here, the attitude here is second to none. And what it is, like, you can find bits and pieces of it in different, like, Navy SEALs are sometimes brought up, or high level logisticians like chess players or sales people. Like, they all have things, elements, and this is the best of the best, pulling the best of all of those things as an art form, as a skill set, as a thing in itself, its own niche that is kind of underneath all of those other niches, because it's character development for men. It's male character development. So if you're a man, this is for you. And there's nobody developing character better. We have our reasons for why this is the best, how it's possible. That's kind of what I'm describing, like how to be free in your speech, because how are you going to be the best in your character if you're not free in your ability to speak? And I'm saying that honesty, that's what's needed. And you have fear, and that's why you're not honest. That you don't have discipline, and that's why you don't have urgency, and you don't have self-respect when it comes to like how long you hang out with somebody, how much you're willing to take from somebody. When you have discipline, you don't want to waste any time on haters. You become less tolerant of haters. You become less tolerant of misbehavior from other people. If you have discipline, if you have a schedule, if you have a sense of urgency about the things you need to do. Now, you could go uncalibrated the wrong way, and again, you could end up alone because nobody's good enough for you and whatever. So, being part of a tribe where there is some pinging back and forth, and it's legitimate, like you have been validated, verified to be a valuable human to other people, because it's not just you're valuable because you're alone and you just are valuable. You're a liability. You're a drain of resources if you're not feeding it back to a community. And then what, like I tell people, IMC Nation is very, very well liked, extremely well liked, until there's male jealousy about other women, or by liberals who think you shouldn't be allowed to say what you want to say. Because if you could hear the words that we say without trying to block us, eventually it's going to make a lot of sense for you, because it just makes a lot of sense. And if you're a very secure guy that doesn't have problems, with other guys that get more women or prettier women or are more free about women, then you'll just sit down and learn and want to join. But you got a lot of hangups, both men and women. And on those two polarizing issues, they're very core issues. They're very, very deep in the person, and they will repel a person from their deepest being and turn them into a hater, polarizes them. Now, you could argue that's not the best way to do things. Maybe if you were just more tame in your speech. And I'm telling you, that's not what we're selling. We're not selling tame speech. And when you make more income with a more loyal following, better results, then I'll totally listen to you. But you can't point the finger at me from below and tell me I'm going the wrong way. You're behind me on the path. You think you see better? Maybe you do, but chances are you don't. Like the chances of you seeing better than me because of your vantage point is much smaller than chances of you not, that you're just blowing hot air. And so I'll play those odds. Okay, so all right, I kind of went off the rail a little bit there, I think, but I think that's the gist of it. All right, I hope everybody enjoyed it. We ended with 12 people online, so that's great. We started with 2, and it just kept growing the whole show. People will watch this episode recording, leave a review, and I'll see you. I don't think I'll be able to do an episode Sunday because of the camp, so I don't know when the next episode will be. We got a lot of recycled episodes coming out, so look forward to that. They're the best episodes from the other podcasts. I'm deleting the other podcasts. We've already downloaded them all, so I'll remake the intros for them so that you know that they're recycled episodes. And then there's some good stuff in there. Maybe you've heard it, maybe not, but you'll see those released on the show. All right, everybody. Posts.